So as the title says, we're all going to spend this video laughing at the two idiots who are Tommy Robinson and Sargon of Akkad, but I'm going to read to you what is happening. So in Europe, we had the European elections, so you can just vote for a candidate for a certain region, and I voted for the Green Party. Sadly, they didn't win in my district, but overall, the Greens and the Lib Dems, who want to remain, they did pretty well, whereas the parties that are kind of split on it did really badly. So the Conservatives and Labour did pretty bad, Conservatives especially, and UKIP essentially were wiped out because Nigel Farage left the party and formed the Brexit Party, and the Brexit Party did the best. And if you want to look into it a bit more, it's probably because most people think it's silly to be voting in the European elections when we're meant to be leaving the EU in October, and whereas a lot of people who want to leave are sort of galvanised by Nigel Farage, so they are all voting, as sort of like a protest vote to show that they really want this Brexit stuff. So there's not much, so much to read into it. It's not like Brexit is overall way more popular than staying. It's just, in this sort of election, it's just the way it worked out because people aren't really galvanised to vote for, if you remain and stuff. So let's get into these two idiots. So the first article from the Evening Standard says UKIP has lost all its MEPs in the European Parliament. Despite topping the voting figures in 2014, the pro-Leave Party's support collapsed completely after the insurgent Brexit Party came top of the polls in England and Wales, picking up 28 MEPs. UKIP leader Gerard Batten lost his seat in London, which he had held since 2004. So that's all good news. So let's get into Sargon of Akkad. The party's controversial candidate, YouTuber Carl Benjamin, who was second on the party's Southwest regional list, also failed to get elected. And then Mr. Benjamin was condemned during the campaign for comments he made about Labour MP Jess Phillips. The 39-year-old who stars himself as Sargon of Akkad said he wouldn't even rate the Labour MP, and he refused to apologise for the remarks. So, that is really great. All this stuff he always talks about. The arrogance to think he'd become an elected MEP is quite funny in the first place, since his whole stuff is about being like an anti-SJW. And people sometimes call me like the smart Sargon of Akkad, which I kind of don't mind. But I don't look like him just because I have a beard. But he's a massive idiot. He's part of that whole anti-SJW crowd in the UK with who's that guy with the racist dog, Count Dacula, and who's the other one, Paul Joseph Watson, and all their bullshit is really like disingenuous, and they're basically trying to make money off you guys will know the internet outrage, because who are the most successful political YouTubers? It's normally right wingers who capitalise and make up all this shit. So it's good to see him getting crushed in, I guess, the real world where people don't know who he is and know what a piece of shit he is. So the second person is Tommy Robinson. So if you guys don't know who Tommy Robinson is, because I'm sure most of you will, but if you don't, basically he was a football thug when he was younger, and he became the head of the English Defence League, which is like a racist, nationalist, I don't know if it's a party, I don't know if it's ever won anything in like elections, but yeah, it's like a political group, and it's just basically for protecting Christianity and white people in England and shit. But he left that, but now he ran as an independent MEP. So the Guardian reporting, on a European election night when the Brexit Party dominated across the UK, perhaps the most eye-catching story in northwest England was the humiliating drubbing suffered by the anti-Islam activist Tommy Robinson. Having claimed for weeks to be on the crest of an international movement, one that elected Donald Trump in the US, the man whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon had expected to walk into Brussels like Conor McGregor upon his election. In the end, Robinson only won 2.2% of the vote, losing his £5,000 deposit, and sneaked out of the election count in central Manchester barely an hour after he had arrived. He tried to put a brave face on it, claiming the establishment had arranged and organised for him to be banned from social media to scupper his election bid, but it was a resounding defeat for the founder of the English Defence League. So yeah, that's another great thing that happened in the European election. And I hate this country a lot of the time, and I hate the British Bulldog element, and it's nice to see two people who kind of represent that being, absolutely destroyed. And I don't know if you guys have seen that funny video of someone asking people in Manchester what they think of Tommy Robinson, and it's just funny to see like people who obviously aren't like massively interested in politics still hating on him, which is a good thing. And yeah, I'm just happy about it, because how embarrassing would it be, like, even though we're leaving the EU, to have Tommy Robinson and Sargon of Akkad, as two MEPs paid by like their salaries paid by the taxpayer, and just legitimising their type of bullshit, which I hope just stays online, because especially in England, our like political online stuff really stays separate from the mainstream. Because I know in America you have Ben Shapiro is online and is a public figure, but these two, more so Sargon of Akkad, I don't think I could ask anyone I know, do you know who this guy is? The only reason they might know him now is because of the rape comments, but after that, I doubt anyone would know who this guy is. And Tommy Robinson, yeah, a lot of people do know who he is because he's got a bit of infamy, but at the same time, it doesn't mean he's a popular person. And the delusion on their part to think they could become elected, and he got 2.2% of the vote, didn't even get his deposit back, which I think you have to put down to even run as an MEP, and then if you get a certain amount of the vote, I think you get it back. But because he did so badly, he's gotten it taken away from him. So yeah, overall, a nice silver lining from when the Brexit Party really dominated these elections. Hopefully, if we leave the EU, it'll be good because we get rid of them. But at the same time, if we stay, it'll be such a disaster because then we have our section of the European Parliament dominated by people who don't even want to be in the EU. And don't people find it funny that people who hate the EU are happy to be elected as MEPs and get a European politician's salary, which I find kind of strange. It's literally funding your lifestyle, but you don't want to be in it. That's why Nigel Farage is such a hypocrite. But anyway, yeah, let's all laugh at them, troll their fans online, and just be happy that this country at least rejected these two fucking extremists. And yeah, if you want to find me on social media, follow me at The Cavernacle on Twitter and Instagram. I also have a WordPress blog, you can check that out, Cavernacle WordPress. I now have a Patreon, so that'll be in the description. You can check that out, I don't really expect anything from it though. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I guess, for a lot of you Americans, this might be the only part of the European elections you care about, and it's just quite funny rather than, it's kind of irrelevant to a lot of you, and UK politics isn't so relevant to Americans anyway. But if you made it this far, thank you for watching.